In this video, we'll show you how to rebuild the Betz internal chemical hydraulic valve. Please observe all safety guidelines, use correct tools, and wear the appropriate safety apparel when performing any of these operations. As with any maintenance work, proper safety gear and procedures must be used at all times. A list of hazards may include, but are not limited to, contents under pressure, loaded springs, pinch points, residual product, flammable or toxic liquids and vapors. Start with the valve securely mounted in a vise. Start disassembly by removing the 12 cap screws holding the cover plate. Remove the cover plate by carefully lifting straight up to prevent damage to the piston. It may be necessary to use a screwdriver to pry the cover loose. Remove and discard the gasket. Next, use the custom spanner tool, Betz part number 75325MS, to remove the seal retainer by rotating counterclockwise. Inspect the seal retainer for damage and replace if necessary. Remove the bearing ring. If the valve you are working on does not have a bearing ring, upgrade your components to the newer design that includes the bearing ring. See Engineering Bulletin 8-08. Remove the hydraulic seal. Reinsert the spanner tool and remove the stem spring retainer by turning in a counterclockwise direction. Decompression of the spring will take considerable effort, approximately 40 turns in total. Remove the stem spring retainer by carefully lifting straight up to prevent damage to the stem. The lower 3 inches of the stem is a sealing surface. Inspect for scratches or damage and replace as needed. Remove the backup PTFE shim washer and stainless shim washer. Then remove the mainspring, packing retainer, packing spring, and follower washer. Carefully remove the disc housing and set it aside on a clean surface. Carefully remove the replaceable seat by driving the tip of a screwdriver into the seat and prying it out, taking care not to damage the interior surface of the groove. Using a pick tool, carefully remove the stem backup O-ring and replace it with a new O-ring. Wipe the seat clean and check for damage, debris, or corrosion. If the seat groove is damaged, the seat flange must be replaced. Install a new replaceable seat by hand. Start on one end and work around the perimeter. Use your palm to push in the final section and be sure to hear a snap when fully seated. Now, using a flathead screwdriver, carefully pierce and dislodge the cover plate gasket from the disc housing that was set aside and remove. Wipe the seat clean and check for damage, debris, or corrosion. Install a new cover plate gasket in the groove. Next, invert the disc and use your thumb to press out the wiper and packing rings. Inspect the bore of the stuffing box for damage or debris and wipe clean. Install the new wiper so that the tapered side of the wiper points downward into the bore. Then, insert the new packing rings, taking extra care to make sure the cupped sides of the rings are installed downward into the bore. Reinstall the follower washer, stuffing box spring, and packing retainer. Using a pick tool, carefully remove the stem O-ring on the stem spring retainer. Clean and inspect the O-ring groove for damage, debris, or corrosion. Install a new stem O-ring. Install a new bearing ring on the seal retainer. It is important to apply a generous amount of removable thread lock to the threads of the stem of the seat flange. Return the disc housing to the seat flange, taking great care not to damage the new packing. Reinstall the mainspring into the disc housing. Install the PTFE shim over the stem spring retainer, followed by the stainless shim. While holding the shims in place, insert the stem spring retainer over the spring. While pressing the stem spring retainer down, turn in a clockwise direction to start the threads onto the threads of the seat flange. Once in place, continue to thread the stem spring retainer by hand 3 or 4 turns. Install a new main hydraulic seal with the cupped surface facing downward into the bore. Place in bore, but do not press into place by hand. The seal retainer will seat the U-cup when installed. Apply anti-seize compound to the threads of the seal retainer. Ensure the bearing ring is installed in the seal retainer. Hold securely in place and install into the stem spring retainer. Using the spanner tool, turn the seal retainer clockwise to tighten. Once the seal retainer is seated, continue to turn and compress the mainspring. Compression of the mainspring will take considerable effort, approximately 40 turns in total. Tighten to 90 foot-pounds. Install a new cover plate gasket, then lubricate the piston with silicone lubricant. Align the piston with the bore of the seal retainer and fully install the cover plate, lining up the holes for the cap screws. Apply water-soluble anti-seize compound to cap screws and reinstall. Using a star pattern, tighten cap screws to approximately 40 foot-pounds. Reassembly is finished. Before returning the valve to service, completely test the function of the hydraulics and check for any leaks, including at the main seal.